Sonic the Hedgehog transitions flawlessly into 3D, despite what others on the internet would have you believe. Adventure 2, Generations, Tails Adventure, these are all truly amazing games that even one without bias for the blue blur can admit has quality. Hold on a second. However, despite this fact, Sonic's reputation in the gaming medium has always been poor. Consistently, he's been looked down upon, made fun of, and even when these great games are released, they're seen as exceptions as opposed to the rule. While I don't agree with the sentiment, it is very easy to trace back why this reputation has come to be. Sonic isn't consistent with anything. Gameplay styles changing in between almost every single game, new mechanics that feel more like gimmicks are incorporated, taking away from development time, and it feels as though instead of simply building on the working formula set up in Sonic Adventure, Sonic Team would rather completely scrap it and start over again every single game. Adventure formula, boost formula, storybook, boom Sonic. Are there any more Sonics I should know about? While some could argue this constant changing is an attempt at remaining innovative and constantly fresh, it is clear that Sonic doesn't change in order to spread its wings, but instead to keep itself slowly walking upright, when it was already running fine on two legs. Every time it seems Sonic is on the up, suddenly the rug is pulled out underneath, and we're either back at rock bottom, or at best gliding on mediocrity, just hoping to not crash again. A series that's run on as long as Sonic has absolutely no excuse to be releasing this inconsistent of titles at this point in its career. Sonic has been around since the 80s, and 3D Sonic since the late 90s, and still seemingly hasn't found his footing as this constant need to change up the formula suggests. How many other series have been going on this long that mirror Sonic's track record? Not many, I'd argue, and none that are still relevant today at the very least. While Sonic has lived on strongly through various other forms of media like comics, movies, and television, the only thing Sonic as a game series has been consistent with is not remaining consistent. But what do I mean by consistency? When I refer to consistency, I'm referring to the growth of the foundation, or in Sonic's case, the lack of growth towards the foundation. To illustrate this, let's take a look at Sonic's old rival, Mario, which is one of the most creative and innovative series in the entire gaming medium, always finding new ways to captivate and engage the player with every new release. Like Sonic, Mario is also a series that introduces vastly new mechanics and tries new things with every release, but unlike Sonic, has found both commercial and critical acclaim. Why is this? Why has Mario succeeded where Sonic has failed? They were both successful in 2D, so what happened upon the transition to 3D? Is it simply because Mario at its core is innately better than Sonic? Can Sonic simply not work in 3D? Well, unless you're a toddler in the YouTube comment sections of Smash videos, then I'm sure you know the answer. Obviously not. But there is indeed a reason for Mario succeeding where Sonic has failed, and it's because Mario built an incredibly strong foundation upon transitioning to 3D, and has only ever built upon it since the series' inception. They may add FLUDD, or a spin jump, or condense you to a linear design, but it's still all built upon the 3D Mario formula that Mario 64 established. I know as a player that going from 64 to Sunshine, or even from Sunshine to 3D World, that I'll be able to perform the wall jump because of the basic 3D Mario formula that's been established. And more importantly, a developer knows going into making a Mario game what that formula looks like. This foundation assures that everyone involved knows what a Mario game is going in, And from that establishment of consistency, Nintendo can introduce new concepts and mechanics to engage players successfully because they all will work around that foundation for players to appreciate. New mechanics can be appreciated and easy to adapt to because the base of the experience has remained consistent for years now. The spin jump in Galaxy feels great to use because it's being added on to the working formula of Mario 64. In any creative project, one builds on what works while removing or refining things that don't. This is the basic growth and development process, but Sonic Team seems to constantly lose this memo. Where Mario built a strong foundation with Mario 64 and has continued to build onto it since then, resulting in incredible consistency, Sonic built a strong foundation with Sonic Adventure and gave up on it. Then built the boost formula and kept trying to change it before coming back to it eventually, leading to an incredible inconsistency. And thus is the difference between Sonic and Mario. Sonic as a game series cannot be truly great until it has its rock, the mainline games. As great as Mario Party and Mario Kart are, without a game like Mario Odyssey rolling around delivering the goods, Mario as a game franchise starts to lose its weight. Sonic, on the other hand, tries to go all in with the side games and spin-off games, and instead of getting excited for them, the fans get annoyed, as they're still yearning for that truly good mainline game and wish the development time and assets went into that instead of this. If you don't believe me, think about it for a moment. Everyone knows what a Mario game is and how it plays. Everyone also knows what a Kingdom Hearts game looks like and how that plays. We all even have a fair idea of what to expect when loading into a new Monster Hunter, despite being a series that always likes to shake things up a fair deal with each new entry. But what exactly is a Sonic game? Specifically, a 3D Sonic game. It's fast and involves platforming, sure, but what does that look like? Adventure? Boost? Boom? Many online, when presented with this question, argue that it isn't fair to ask, and resort to the passive and dismissive counter-argument of, what qualifies something as anything really? Which to me is an unacceptable response. You can devolve into the minutiae all you like and dance around the subject, trying to address the philosophy behind the argument instead of actually addressing the argument itself, but at the end of the day, the objective truth is that the mainline Sonic series has no distinct gameplay identity, whereas almost every other series does. And that is a problem. When Sonic Team chose to abandon the adventure formula after the disappointments of both Shadow the Hedgehog and 06, I can't say I blame them for wanting a fresh start. They just went through the incredibly arduous and impossible task of putting Sonic 06 in a state that could be shipped when it was in no way ready to. They'd lost the director of essentially the entire series and company, and their last two projects of Shadow the Hedgehog and 06 left more than a sour taste in their mouth. They wanted to come back with a bang, a fresh new take on the formula that they could launch to bigger and better heights from. And while the products they went on to make, Sonic Unleashed, is my absolute favorite Sonic game ever, yeah, I don't care, at me, and I would hate a universe where it didn't exist, this move was a mistake. At least for the ideology it would birth. Because following the release of Unleashed, Sonic Team kept trying to fix what wasn't broken. Despite the praise of at least the daytime levels in Unleashed, Sonic did not remain solely in this new boost formula. Even after throwing away their old foundation of the adventure formula in place for creating this new boost formula, they still could not remain loyal to it and refused to build upon it consistently. Sonic Team instead opted from this point forward to either always include some gimmick that did not build on the formula, but instead changed it and presented a separate gameplay style entirely, this, or the game chose to simply abandon the boost formula altogether before it inevitably came crawling back to it. Even in Sonic Unleashed, for as much as I love it, the Werehog is such an odd inclusion that goes against everything Sonic was up until that point. Especially for a game that was the introduction to a new gameplay formula. Why would you complicate matters by juggling two vastly different gameplay styles in this one game? Moving on, next in the mainline we got Black Knight, arguably a spin-off, but then again, arguably not. Either way, another vastly different playstyle to both adventure or now the boost style. When this didn't work out, we received Colors, which was an actual improvement upon the boost formula set up in Unleashed. The new gimmick of Wisps built upon that new foundation, and what do you know, Colors is one of the most positively received Sonic games because of it. Sonic Generations further improved on this formula, while reintroducing the classic Sonic gameplay style, which while I don't like seeing and is a separate gameplay style, its inclusion here was clearly meant to celebrate the series' history with Generations' status as an anniversary title. Even still, the 3D Sonic segment specifically further improved upon Colors and Unleashed and is considered by many to be the best modern 3D Sonic game. So, of course, with this consistent success and growth, Sonic Team released Lost World next. An extreme departure from the boost formula and honestly, tried to be so many different things at once that it felt as though Sonic Team was throwing darts at a wall and hoping one would stick with players. Then following this, we received Sonic Boom, which while despite not being developed by Sonic Team directly, was advertised to be a bold new direction for the series. But obviously, we all know how that turned out. So then, licking his wounds, Sonic is back to the boost formula with Forces. So you'd expect, after these two flops, Sega and Sonic Team would dedicate themselves to the boost formula solely, right? No! Classic Sonic's back for some reason. And now there's the inclusion of a creative character which was cool, but was yet another gameplay style they spent development time and assets on that could have went into making a consistently good Sonic portion of the game because that Sonic portion doesn't exist! Levels are straight lines with barely any platforming, and while they can look nice, these stages last less than a minute long. What happened between Unleashed and now? Clearly, Sonic Team is capable of making incredible levels with great level design and physics, so what happened here? It's impossible to even hate Forces, just perpetually remained baffled by its existence. Keep in mind that also during this time we were still receiving spin-offs like RPGs, racing games, slow-paced adventure games that didn't work, mobile games, movies, TV shows, return to classic Sonic games. It just felt like every time you turned around, Sonic was taking a completely new direction and had no idea what it actually wanted to be. So I ask again, what is a Sonic game? There is no consistent answer, at least not one that Sonic Team abides to. It's obvious through their social media that both Sega and Sonic Team take feedback very attentively, but instead of using that feedback and putting it into an already established foundation, they instead view the whole package as spoiled and want to start clean again. It would be as though if after Mario Galaxy, Nintendo decided to scrap the 3D Mario formula entirely and make the next mainline Mario game control like Captain Toad. I do not hope for homogeneity, and I also do not want to see other series never try something new ever. Take Yakuza for example. Yakuza was a series that had been the same since its inception, so it shook things up for its newest entry. And while some lament the change, it was a welcome addition after years of proving how strong and capable Yakuza was as a series. And even then, although the combat system of Yakuza has changed in this newest entry, almost every other aspect that makes fans love the series is still present in this new game. The elements of the foundation are still there. This new battle system was simply altered within it, while not completely abandoning it. However, it's very easy, as well as very entitled and immature, to criticize something endlessly without at least trying to give any potential solutions. So I won't dwell on the past anymore. And after all, there's no use complaining or worrying about something that's already happened or that you can't change. I am a fan of Sonic, which is a terrible thing to admit on the internet. I find value in every game we've received. I miss the adventure formula, sure, I admit it, but I also love the boost formula. That is, when the boost formula commits to its formula. If I'm playing Sonic Unleashed, I want to play the day stages, not the Werehog. If I'm playing Generations, I want the modern Sonic stages, not the classic. I love the series, and I only want to see it succeed because I know how good it can be when it wants to be. It just needs a bit of commitment and confidence from the developers to stick with one concrete formula. So when I saw the announcement of Sonic Frontiers, I saw yet again a brand new foundation they were trying to set, and I could not have cared less. I was over it. Here was yet another foundation they would half-bake, then completely discard once the next game comes out. Whatever, Sonic Team. It seems you're content with remaining perfectly adequate nowadays, while the character and merchandise keep the brand alive. But my God, how good it is to be proven wrong sometimes. Sonic Frontiers is Sonic Team's best effort in years for this franchise. For the first time in a long time, they've actually built upon pre-existing foundations. By fusing the adventure and boost formulas, you have made a new groundwork that is so incredibly strong. And my God, it just works. The game is incredibly fun. For the first time, you can truly feel like Sonic in the intro to Sonic CD, just speeding and bouncing around in a huge open area. You get the fun platforming and exploration reminiscent of the adventure formula, and you also get the sense of speed and franticness from the boost formula. You even found a way to incorporate deeper combat into this formula, reminiscent of Sonic's comic book history, or dare I say it, an improvement of the Werehog, which I didn't even think was possible. You've done it. You've found a working formula, and you've shown us the potential of it. You've listened to fan feedback, and built upon it already, even with the title updates that have turned an already great game into an amazing one, with inclusions such as the customization of Sonic's control being left to the player to determine, and the inclusion of the spin dash again, that comes with its own unique physics. This is a great foundation. This is truly fun to play. So please, please, for your sake, stick with it. Just stay. I feel good about Frontiers. I've played Frontiers more than any other Sonic game in the last 10 years. The free updates again are incredible, and did I mention the spin dash? Yeah, I feel really good about Frontiers and what it means for the future of Sonic. But then again, I felt good about Sonic Adventure 2. I felt good about Unleashed. I felt good about Generations. Sonic Frontiers is an absolute blast and the most consistent 3D Sonic game we've ever gotten. I'm rooting for the future of Sonic yet again, but I know how this story has went in the past. So for the sake of the 12-year-old in me that's still running with his arms behind his back at recess, prove me wrong, Sonic. Please.